Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup, is back on the road. Just 2 weeks after the season opener at Brands Hatch, we're now on the Adriatic coast. We're at the Misano circuit in Italy for 2 more sprint races. And there's a bit of a twist this weekend because they're both going to be on the same day, the second in the darkness, under the lights here at Misano. It promises to have 2 really exciting races thrown at us this weekend, and anything can happen around this fast, flat Italian circuit. We've had 1 endurance round, and this our second Sprint Cup event of the year, so there's very little form to go on, but we know that Lamborghini, Ferrari, BMW, McLaren, Mercedes-AMG are all likely to be quick around here. Europe, of course, is part of that 4-strong championship that makes up the global Fanatec GT World Challenge calendar. And as far as Europe is concerned, we've had 1 endurance race already at Paul Ricard, and the next event is coming up as the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, the Blue Ribbon event. Then we're back to sprint in Germany. There's Magny-Cours and Barcelona to round out the sprint season. The winners are more than likely going to come from the pro category, and the man that took a really impressive pole position at Brands Hatch, the young British driver, Ben Green.
Everyone's really motivated and working hard, which is nice, and yeah, we go forward with a lot of motivation and energy to go into this weekend.
A winner here 12 months ago, Valentino Rossi arrives as a more complete driver in 2024. And nowadays the fans come not only expecting to see him, but to see him do well. Around his home circuit, Valentino Rossi is certainly going to be a man to watch this weekend as he looks for a second Sprint Cup win.
It's very special to race here in Misano because this is really my home track. I live just 10 kilometers from here, and I growing up with the motorcycle in this track. And also it's the track where I did more kilometers also with the cars, so I have a good experience. Last year was unforgettable because it was my first victory. So very happy to be here, and I hope to be competitive.
After a somewhat dominant display in race 2 at Brands Hatch, Mario Engel and Lucas Auer come here as the drivers to beat in pro in the championship. And Lucas Auer is in fine form after that Brands victory.
As long as we switch on the tires, we find the right balance. I think we should be competitive, but Brands Hatch was outstanding. The championship is too tough to repeat this so closely, but I still think we will be competitive.
You can never rule out Audi in pro, and Lorenzo Ferrari gets better all the time. He's one to watch here.
At the moment, yes, we're looking fine. Quali for sure will be out there because everyone will come out with their strategies. So yeah, at the moment we look good. We'll see.
There are battles outright, there are battles in the classes, and the Gold Cup that caters for gold and a silver graded driver was really competitive at Brands Hatch, where Luca Engschler took a win.
Yeah, it's difficult. Like since Brands, we struggle a bit with the car and we don't know really where it's coming from. So yeah, the boys are obviously working flat out. Also Max and me are trying to help as good as we can, as good as drivers can help. But yeah, seems to be a bit of a struggle, yeah.
And keep an eye as well on the Silver Cup, where 2 silver graded drivers share the car. And this is where you look at the young guns of GT racing. Amongst them, the very rapid French driver César Gazot, who was another really feisty racer at Brands Hatch 2 weeks ago.
Leading the championship is like a great feeling, but yeah, it's like the season is still really long, so I'm like focused race by race, winning points, and yeah, for sure it's like the goal of the season, but we need to be like focused race by race and be like made sure to be able to win the championship.
The first round of the Bronze Cup is this weekend, where at least 1 bronze-graded driver must be in the car. Gabriel Rindoni moves across from Lamborghini Super Trofeo to Fanatec GT.
I'm trying. The competition is very strong, I have to say, and that's what we love about GT World Challenge. But we're trying, we're doing our best. The car is good, and we're improving to go and get that result that we're aiming at.
And Jonathan Hui has been a class winner in the past, but mainly in endurance. Now he turns his attention to the Sprint Cup for Sky Tempesta Racing with the Ferrari 296, and he is going to be in the thick of the battle in the class, there's no doubt about that, as we get set for racing here in Italy.
Well, there's some new elements this year because we're doing both endurance and the sprint, and here we are for the first round in Misano, so there's a lot of unknowns. My last sprint race was in 2020, that was 4 years ago, with Giancarlo Fisichella in 90 core, and that went quite well because I won both rounds. So that doesn't mean that we're extra optimistic this weekend, but certainly the car's been performing really well, and there's reason to be optimistic.
The sun is shining, the temperature is very hot indeed, the pit lane is open, and we are getting closer to going racing here at Misano, and it is going to be Maxime Martin on pole position. He didn't do the fastest time, but he did take pole position because Dries Vanthoor lost a lap time for the dreaded track limit abuses, of which there have been hundreds over the course of the last day and a half here. So Maxime Martin inherited pole position, and that was a hugely popular result given that he shares the car with Valentino Rossi, local hero, and they are very much the favourites going into this race. David Anderson and John Watson trackside for this 4.2 kilometre long circuit. At the front of the grid, this run towards turn 1 is about to take up attention. The cars now swinging their way up from turn 15. You're looking back at Lucas Legere's car there from Thierry Vermeulen's Ferrari. They will slot themselves into position in a moment in that 2x2 Noah's Ark formation. The leading car will bail for the pit lane. Maxime Martin in the BMW that kind of towers over the Ferrari alongside. No question as to who those fans are supporting. The car on pole position then in the hands of Maxime Martin gets ready to accelerate clear once they come out of turn 16. If the race director is happy, the lights will change, and race 3 of the year in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup is go. Good start by Martin. Ben Green moves across in defence for Drudy. Marvin Dean to the Porsche to the outside line. To the inside, the orange BM of Callan Williams. Dries Vanthoor's going to get ahead of Marvin Dees, has his elbows out, doesn't he? Up into second place, ahead of Green, ahead of Drudy, and Vanthoor 5th.
The opportunist by Ben Green, but he saw the opportunity, made it stick, got up now back to the position he started in, because certainly it was all a bit tight going through turns 1, 2 and 3. There's the view, and look how much track limit abuse we're seeing in the opening lap. And this only from this drone shot can I fully appreciate what the stewards are having to deal with. So many cars running so wide, coming out of turn 6, all halfway up, almost back on the beach.
Indeed so, but Maxime Martin ahead of Marvin Dean. So it is BMW from Porsche, the Dynamique GT team, which we didn't see at Brands, running that car of Dean's, who is a very, very quick Porsche peddler, make no mistake about it. Ben Green 3rd, and in 4th place now is Dries Vanthoor, so he's chipping forward as you look further down the order. 991 is Dan Harper in the Century Red BMW on the outside line. Gets forced out a little bit wide as the cars now accelerate their way down towards turn 11. Maxime Martin leads the way, being squeezed onto the grass there in the background. That was possibly Dan Harper, in fact. But he got away with that as the cars accelerate their way towards turn 12 for the first time. Wide goes Deans, Green behind him, but Vanthoor 4th, looking really menacing.
So the Porsche and the BMW coming through turn 14, but Maxime Martin has just got that margin of gap between himself and the Porsche. The Porsche under pressure from the Ferrari. Now the 32 Dries Vanthoor having made up 2 positions, and that opening lap and focusing onto the rear, Ben Green in the Ferrari. That will not be an easy overtake.
Mario Engel getting his elbows out, look as he comes across the line. The yellow Mercedes AMG getting involved in a big, big battle. Thierry Vermeulen then on the inside line, moving himself back ahead of Tom Gamble. So Martin leads, but he's not really clearing off into the distance. Marvin Dienst only 0.6 of a second back when they came over the line. Back on board with the drone up towards turn 4. That's Mathieu Drudy that you're looking at the back of, who's dropped away a little bit from Vanthoor, who's going after Ben Green, who's going after Marvin Dienst. Let's have a replay of the start, John.
Yeah, so Maxime Martin, clear run down, but there's Dienst in the Porsche who gets alongside Ben Green as they go into turn 2. That gives them the position, but also Mathieu Drudy was all over the back of the 2 of them. So it was slightly losing out for Ben Green, and Drudy was just waiting for the opportunity, but it didn't materialise. There you can see the gap. Look between Vanthoor and Green side by side. And can he make it stick? He's not going to be able to make it stick. He's going to be hung out all the way around. Ben Green's doing a sterling job of defence.
Contact between the 2, though. Ben Green's mirror was dislodged. You saw that. So Vanthoor getting more and more frustrated.
Oh, without a puncture.
I think it is. 99 Audi. That is the Ricardo Feller car limping back to the pit lane. So Ricardo Feller.
Body damage has been a big contact.
He's hit somebody or something, hasn't he? Feller for the pits.
Again, watch that battle for third place. Dries van Thor trying to work the long way around, coming down to turn 11. He's got enough momentum this time. Can he force his way ahead? But Ben Green is not conceding a fraction all the way down through these sequence of corners into turn 12. Now a chance for Dries van Thor. Back end of the fray. Was that a contact again? And there he's side by side, hip and shoulder. And that's getting a come on, Vincent Voss. He's loving it in the WRT pits.
Romaro Engel trying to get up the inside, but out wide goes the Lamborghini, keeps the inside line for the next corner. Engel swoops around the outside. Finally, he's done it. He's gone by, but that's only for 14th place. Engel still with work to do. Right, the incident between Van Thor and Ben Green is under investigation, and that was the Gold Cup leader. So our second gold leader in strife being turned around, Max Hofer. In comes Maxime Martin, and no doubt to great encouragement. In will leap Valentino Rossi, the WRT BMW at pit out. So as soon as Valle gets into the car, he can just accelerate away down the pit road, and the clock is running on this pit stop. The Vermeulen Ferrari's pit stop, Giacomo Altre behind the wheel now, was 1 minute and 6.3 seconds. That's the benchmark from Emil Frey. Let's see what WRT have done. Rossi behind the wheel, rolling all the way down the pit lane. It's a long pit lane exit here in Misano. In comes Van Thor. Dries van Thor then to give way to Charles Weerts. Triple Sprint Cup champions. Now Valentino Rossi is the race leader. The clock is ticking. And is Rossi going to keep the lead? Right, 32 is moving. There it is, look, at the right-hand side of the screen, but it's not at race speed. And 46 is about to come into turn 1 there, so it retakes the lead. So 46, Valentino Rossi is ahead after the stops. So now the shuffle comes, but it's going to be a BMW 1-2, isn't it? Rossi versus Weerts, who has done the fastest lap of the race. Philip Zager gets away, and although the Porsche led when it came in, ignore it from the lead battle, because that is a Bronze Cup car with a bronze driver in it. That now has the target of winning its class. So the real focus is on the two WRT BMWs for the race win. There's the gap between first and second, just under a second when they came across the line at the end of lap 26. Call that a gap. It's come right down, hasn't it? 9/10 it was. So Valentino Rossi has got 17 minutes to go. Now, if you believe in people power, this is where it might well work. And there, Vincent Voss has a decision to make. You know, do I tell Charles to back off because it's going to look good on home soil? But no, it's every man for himself in this. They all want points for the championship. So as long as they don't get involved and delay each other or take each other off, it should be a fair fight to the end. And over the timing line now goes Lorenzo Ferrari. With Niederhauser under attack. Lucas out tries to go all the way around the outside at 1, the inside for 2. They rub now side by side. The Mercedes goes ahead. Great bit of driving by Auer. And there is Auer on the inside of Ferrari for 6th place, and the Mercedes goes through. Lucas Auer has done it. So great effort by both him and Engel. This from 21st on the grid up into the top 6. Show up the inside, Charles Weerts. Ooh. OK, Valet, I'm going to win this race, he says, if you make a mistake. I'm not going to let you have it easy. I might not come charging up the inside, but I'm going to try and unsettle you. And Rossi now knows that he's in a big, big battle with a lap to go. Maxime Martin studies the timing. Valentino Rossi has done a fantastic job to withstand the pressure. 1 corner to go. Checkered flag at the ready. And Valentino Rossi is going to win on home soil. Checkered flag wave. Valentino Rossi and Maxime Martin win. Race 1 at Misano. A delighted Maxime Martin celebrates in the pit lane. And Valentino Rossi's fan club starts to celebrate in the grandstands as well. If you thought last year's victory was a great victory, I tell you what, this was way, way better because he was under pressure basically all the way through his stint. And he didn't flinch, he didn't make an error. Okay, Weerts was catching him, but at the end of the day, he got it done. He took the checkered flag, and I think that's a fantastic, happy Rossi. Thank you very much. It's impossible in a way, isn't it, not to fall under the Valentino Rossi spell because he is just such a great character. Maxime Martin is the first one to go and say well done, and deservedly well done. He didn't luck into that win. Valentino Rossi had to drive his heart out under massive pressure, underlined block capitals, red ink pressure, in order to win that race. And a better drive out of Valentino Rossi we have never seen. No, and I think the other factor was that Valentino, after the great job by Maxime Martin, who brought the car in the lead, another superb pit stop by WRT, all he had to do was focus on what was ahead, and any time that anybody was getting close to him, namely the 32 BMW, he was able to respond sufficiently to keep his lead and to take victory. Maxime Martin who should not be forgotten in all of this because he teed all that up from pole position. Great stint. Dries van Thor does now say well done. Charles Weerts likewise after chasing hard. Couldn't quite do it. Right, to the pit lane. Let's go.
Guys, the home heroes, both of you, what a fantastic teamwork. I'll come to you first. You came in with a fantastic lead, left it in a great place for Valet.
Yeah, we had a really strong car, good start, good first stint. The team did a fantastic job at the pit stop, so we could set the lead, and then, yeah, Valentin did the finish, and he was under the pressure, but he kept there, and fantastic race.
Now, Valet, blimming well done. You came under so much pressure at the end there. You really must have been feeling it.
Yeah, it was difficult. This was the best one because I had the Charles very close to the last lap. I drive very, very well. Does not make mistake, but he was very, very strong. But I think that if I drive well also on the last lap was okay. And yes, another one in Misano. We are so happy, thanks to Maxime, that gave me the car with some advantage so I can breathe a little bit at the beginning.
Is there anything you'd like to say to your home fans?
Thanks to everybody. It's great to see a lot of people for these races, and I hope that we'll continue like this.
Brilliant. Congrats, guys. Congratulations.
And this, the race result. Maxime Martin and Valentino Rossi win. 39 laps of drama from Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts third. Another good improvement, Thierry Vermeulen and Giacomo Altway. Ben Green and Conor Lapalainen fourth, ahead of Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer, with Callum Williams and Sam de Haan sixth, winning in silver. The winning gold, Cup car 13th, the Audi of Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus, just ahead of the winning bronze, Marvin Dienst and Philip Saga. Well done, Callum Williams and Sam de Haan, who dominated silver throughout the race. Second win of the season for those two. And Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus winning in gold. The Santilloc Audi coming through. Gilles Magnus, part of the Rob Huff driver management stable. He was at Brands Hatch last week with Gilles watching British touring cars, but no doubt about the pro winners. Valentino Rossi and Maxime Martin, two very, very happy drivers. A wonderful drive by Valentino Rossi, and there is more GT3 action to come from Misano later on with lights out at 9 o'clock. Champagne sprayed here at Misano, and very, very happy drivers with Valentino Rossi absolutely soaked, but he cares not, he's a race winner. Happy scenes earlier on in the day. Well, they now have to focus on a different grid. The drivers that finished the earlier race will start this, and we'll be going to the grid very shortly. John, though, just quickly, you've had time to reflect on that win from Valentino Rossi, so has the whole paddock. It was a popular result, but it really was an outstanding drive. It was an excellent drive, clearly a better drive than we saw 1 year ago. He was under pressure more or less all the way through his stint. And believe me, Charles Weerts put as much pressure as was humanly possible onto Valentino Rossi, and he stood up and he took the checkered flag. It really was a great effort. Let's go to the grid, though. Let's catch up with one or two drivers. Jonathan Hui from Sky Tempesta Racing, first of all.
John, starting a little bit further back, but still bronze pole. And coming into this weekend, you didn't have a lot of experience, so surely this is a great start for you.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's quite unexpected to get pole, first time racing here. Did the short test, but we put everything together and it worked out.
Brilliant. Well, what's your strategy going to be? Because you don't want to get too caught up in all this traffic.
Well, I think try to keep it clean. In our first race, we got hit from behind, so that compromised our race. So hopefully this race we keep it clean and try to hold our position to the end.
Well, let's hope so. Best of luck. Thank you.
Sky Tempesta Racing mainstays over the last few years of Fanatec GT, and it's Jonathan Hui and Eddie Cheever that will drive in sprint. Chris Froggatt here, but in a kind of advisory capacity. He will, of course, rejoin for endurance at Spa. Charles Weerts, then, he will start the pole position car, and he will be absolutely determined to bolt away and build up a lead. And you've got to say, actually, with that car's pace in race one and now starting on pole, it's going to be hard to beat, isn't it? Well, Charles Weerts put this car on pole last night, a very dominant drive, and he'd had a very strong drive indeed to finish directly behind the 46 in the race earlier this afternoon. Now into darkness, the track's different, a lot more rubber on the track than we would have had maybe, what, 6-7 hours ago when these cars first took to the racetrack. It's been a packed calendar all the way through, so track conditions will be different. But the key is getting your tire temperature as quickly as possible, and we saw
24 hours ago, when the second of the two qualifying sessions took place, that the 32 BMW did an excellent job. Charles Verts put that car on pole with a 131.586, 35.58 to be precise, fractionally ahead of the 48 Winwood Racing Mercedes-Benz. That's the front row pole or front row grid sitter alongside the 32.
Mercedes teams were telling us earlier on in the day temperatures were such that they were going to struggle to turn on the tyres. Now it's cooler again.
It is, but I think maybe offsetting that is the fact that the circuit's had a lot more rubber go down. And I think also the teams have had an opportunity to make a few little detailed changes to try and find a way to get that tyre temperature as early as possible, particularly the front tyres.
Let's go back to the grid and join Antonio Rankin.
Charles, is now the time that you get what was so close earlier today?
Yeah, it was very, very tight, as we could see. Didn't take any risk. We maximized the points, so it was good. Hopefully now we can seal the win. It would be nice after the win we had in Brandstad. We are starting, of course, in a good position, so let's try to have a clean race, good start, good pit stops, and good execution also by Dries, which I'm sure it will be okay.
Well, you've been strong all weekend. Best of luck.
3 races, 3 different winning combinations in the Pro Cup. Charles Weerts getting the radio earpieces in, get the balaclava on, and then get on board the car. There in number 69 Ferrari, Giacomo Altway gets set in the car that he shares with Thierry Vermeulen, who's going to be keeping an eye on what's going on up the road, of course, Thierry, because his father is Max Verstappen's manager. He may well spend an extra day, and so need to go watch what's up the road. We're only about an hour or so away from the Imola circuit. 3-minute board shown. Grid being cleared, engines will fire at the 1-minute board, and then it'll be that formation lap ready for the rolling start.
At face value, looking at the grid, if the 32 BMW gets the lead into turn 1, I think it'll be off and running because that car showed pace last out in qualifying. The car, the 48 Mercedes alongside Lucas Auer, did an outstanding job, but whether that will be able to light up the tyres, get the car into that window as early as possible, the BMW, I suspect, in the opening lap is going to gain an advantage.
It's going to be interesting, though, to see what Lucas Auer can do, because it was a mighty effort to put that car on the front row yesterday evening. And also Giacomo Altway in that Ferrari, 3rd on the grid. Here 4th, the Gold Cup pole, Lucas Legeret, taking the Rover pole in class, Rover Motor Oil pole position award. The CSA Racing Audi, Lucas touched on this earlier on in the day, still a team learning, really, but it's got all the components in place.
Well, I think that's a car and a team that's actually punching above its weight because they're on the 2nd row of the grid. They're not in the pro category, yet on sheer performance between Simon Gachet and Lucas Legeret, they've performed. I mean, that's alongside the Thierry Vermeulen, Giacomo Altway, the pro Ferrari from Emile Frey Racing. So that's a very strong performance from the CSA Racing Audi.
Indeed so. 5th on the grid will be Valentino Rossi. 6th on the grid will be Benjamin Goethe's McLaren. So a nice mix of car up at the front. BMW, Mercedes, Ferrari, Audi, BMW, McLaren. There is the McLaren. And the 1-minute board imminent. Engines will fire. And what would we describe this as? Almost dark, but it's going to get darker as the race progresses.
What's going to be different for Valentino Rossi at the start of this race is he's on the 3rd row of the grid. He's going to be in a group of cars all getting their elbows out into turns 1, 2 and 3. He's going to get roughed up a little bit, which he didn't have that situation in the race 1. He took over a car in the lead, did a superb job to bring the car home in 1st place. Totally different set of dynamics for Valentino to get his head around.
Yeah, indeed, all that traffic around is going to have to be factored in. Looking down onto the grid, I think it's complete. The fans all set. They've stayed late to cheer Valentino Rossi once again. It's been a long, hot day for them all, but now cooler temperatures. The temperature outside is 18.8 degrees, track temperature 22, and headlights ablaze. This gets you in the mood for Spa. The test for the 24 hours is this coming week. Teams have to bolt from here across to Belgium. And then, of course, the 24 hours this year is at the end of June, the Crown Strike 24 Hours of Spa. The Centenary Edition, it promises to be a fantastic event. And if you've never been to the 24 Hours of Spa, well, A, why not? B, come and join us this year. Green flag waves, formation lap underway. And there's something about racing in the darkness, racing under the floodlights, whether it's on a circuit like this or oval racing, you name it, it's just magical. Charles Witt starts on pole, Lucas Auer with him at the front. Race winners this year both. Giacomo Altway third on the grid of the goal pole for Simon Gachet next. Then Valentino Rossi and Benjamin Goethe are ahead of Patrick Niederhauser and Konsta Lapalainen. Gilles Magnus starts 9th ahead of Ivan Klimenko, and then Lorenzo Ferrari. Phil Keane for Mad Panda Motorsport starting 12th ahead of Luca Engschler and Charlie Eastwood. Then you've got Maxi Goetz and Sander Hahn, silver winner earlier on in the day, ahead of Nicolas Bart, Sean Hudspeth alongside him. Alex Alka next with Jonathan Hui for company. Aurelien Panis lines up alongside Darren Lung, who was chasing but had a spin in the Bronze Cup earlier on in the day. Pietro De La Guanti next with Reese Barr alongside ahead of Dimitri Gavatseva and Rob Collard. Then Gabriel Rindoni and Andrei Mukovoz. James Cottingham makes his Misano race debut alongside Philip Zaga. Dustin Blackner, who didn't start at all in the first race, next with Dante Raponge alongside him, and it is Stéphane Denoël and James Jakes that round out the grid.
Been a bit of a bleak weekend so far for the number 9 Lutsen VDS Mercedes. Jules Gounon and Max Goetz behind the wheel, proven winners, and they struggle along with all the other Mercedes, with the exception of the 48, which got onto the front row of the grid, but all the others around were really struggling. Again, the single one factor was couldn't get the tyres to turn on. Took about 3 laps, and that then compromised the opportunity they had to put a second set on, because there wasn't just enough time to get that second set up to temperature either.
This is Jonathan Hui's view, and with the headlights piercing the darkness, Misano just looks so different now, doesn't it, as the cars then come down towards turn 12. There's going to be an element of headlight spotting in this race, that's for sure, but it's going to get darker as the race goes on. It's all useful practice for many of them for Spa, and Misano night races, not uncommon. It's been a regular feature of Sprint Cup coming here over the years that we've had races in the darkness of the Saturday evening, so the trend continues.
One of the things I noticed last night was when particularly up rounds turns 3, 4, 5, then 6 from the drone looking down, how much of a sheen appears on the surface of the racetrack. And you don't see it at this sort of camera level, but from the vertical position, maybe 100 feet, 200 feet above, the surface looks like it's a drag strip. It's almost reflecting off. Very unusual to see it. Keep your eye out if the drone gets up this evening.
Tommy Erdos, British GT champion many years ago, was in the commentary booth earlier with the McLaren Trophy races, and he described the circuit as being like a carpet. It has certainly caught out 1 or 2 with their tyres over the course of the day in different races, but an interesting description. Right, we're about to go racing then. Charles Witt pole, Lucas Auer alongside. Lights on the gantry are red. Race 2, Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. Sprint Cup at Misano is go. BMW versus Mercedes, and it's going to be BMW ahead as they blast down towards the first corner. And Charles Witt just turns through ahead of Lucas Auer, who is determined to try to make a move. Do they all get through turn 1? No, there's a spin, and people scatter in avoidance, missing out turn 2. Look, but we had a spinner in the pack. We'll work out who it is in a moment as they accelerate now towards turn 4 for the first time. Some being very keen on the brakes, and up the curb, and more contact. Turns the Porsche around there. It turns around the Aston 007. Nicolas Bart it is that's been turned around, forgive me. But the survivors battle their way down towards turn 8, and inevitably, perhaps, it's a rather scrambled start.
Yes, but the BMW had to go quite aggressive to present
safety car
to present Lucas Auer, who got a really good start. So that was Charles Witt going from right to left to really put pressure onto the Mercedes. There we see the 007, and that's a great shame. That was a car that was a front-running car, race 1 earlier in the day. The Porsche didn't even make this. But there was coming through turn 6. I noticed some of the cars in the back I felt were maybe anticipating the lights going green, and I think there was a bit of a sort of a motorway type situation where people were being backed up because some were on the brakes while some were still accelerating, and maybe the Porsche was a victim of that.
And I thought there was a car that got turned around in turn 1, so quite a bit to try and resolve. Let's work out at the end of the lap who it is that's dropped right down, because there was certainly a car that was tagged into a spin. Nicolas Bart, the innocent victim in all of that. He was minding his own business, and he was attacked by a car getting up the inside on the curb. So the race direction team calls for the safety car. Alain Adon, the race director, and already the recovery vehicle's on its way to Stéphane Denoël's Porsche, which never actually got over the timing line, did it? So huge disappointment for Stefan De Noël and for CLRT, the Schumacher CLRT team. The car that was turned sideways in turn 1 did rejoin. And you've got the Aston that needs sorting out up at turn 2. So Charles Weerts led at the end of the opening lap from Lucas Auer, who tried to find a way through but couldn't. In third place, Giacomo Altuve. Fourth, Simon Gachet. Fifth, Valentino Rossi. Sixth, Benjamin Goethe. And I think 66, Andre Muckervels may well have been the one that turned around. Right, this is a replay of the start. Look for 44 Porsche that comes out of turn 16 and goes wide and bang into the barrier.
Yeah, well, that was self-induced. Nobody else was involved.
Now, look at the back of the pack, because you'll see a car get turned sideways, and that's why people scatter in avoidance.
Not a nice situation to be in, facing the wrong way in the opening lap, in the opening corners. But those at the tail read it well and split one side of the car or the other.
It might have been Darren Lung, because he was 31st over the line and was 22nd on the grid. And I fear that that may well have been Darren Lung dropping down because of that contact. So we know why we've lost De Noël, crashing on his way to the rolling start. And then we know why we've lost Nicolas Bart, because that car was tagged into a spin up at turn 2. So safety car procedure. Charles Weerts accelerates out of turn 14. All of this counting within the hour. And we'll have, as the cars come towards turn 16, another high shot looking down from the drone. So have a look mid-pack, because there's contact and around. I'm still convinced that was Darren Lung's BMW. Apologies if it wasn't, but Darren dropped way down, and that would kind of excuse the loss of place, wouldn't it, if he was punted into a spin. And then, look, the Audi up the inside there, bang, straight into the side of the Aston. I was thinking at the time it was the dynamic green Porsche, but it was the very green Aston that got turned around. So that, no doubt, will get looked at as well.
Very much so. A couple of drivers did make a bit of progress on the opening lap. One was Luca Enslinger in the number 6 Audi. The other was Charlie Eastwood in the 51 Ferrari. So they made, all that melee that was going on in those opening sequence of 4 or 5 corners, they did make a little bit of improvement, but it's all under the control of the safety car right now, waiting for the track to be returned to green racing, and the advantage safety car in at the end of this lap. Thank you, sir. So Charles Weerts in the lead, and he's actually got a greater advantage than he had starting in pole position, because it's follow my leader across the start-finish line, and you're not allowed to overtake until you go across that start-finish line.
Just had a pit stop for Gabriel Rindoni, number 72 Lamborghini. That's just pitted and rejoined the race. So maybe there's a bit of damage that was picked up by that car from the earlier skirmish. So as the cars then work their way towards the end of this third lap, we'll be back racing this time around. The lights out on top of the safety car. Valentino Rossi you're riding with, and he is in 5th place. Simon Gachet ahead in the Gold Cup leading Audi. Leading silver is Ivan Klimenko, and the leading bronze, Jonathan Hui. So it's BMW ahead of Mercedes, ahead of Ferrari, and Charles Weerts with slightly fewer laps trying to build that gap. Lucas Auer very determined to try to find a way through. Remember, they've each had a win, those 2 cars, the BMW and the Mercedes. They were the victors 2 weeks ago at Brands Hatch, and they're about to accelerate their way now up towards the line. The pin pulled by Charles Weerts. He will accelerate away, and the cars now come up towards turn 16. It's going to be the BMW ahead then as they come now down to the left at 16. We're back racing. The lights go green. Sparks fly from underneath the Mercedes. Weerts going left and right, trying to get the tyres back up to pressure and temperature and build the lead at the same time over Lucas Auer, and the margin half a second when they went through in a bit of a wobble there. Was that Altuve? Was that Gachet? It was the Audi, wasn't it? Yeah, Simon Gachet's tyres cold, and he's got Rossi crawling all over the back of him.
Yeah, snap oversteering, exit of turn 1, and had to go to the left, and that will probably lose him a position too on board with Valentino Rossi. So Rossi right on the tail of the 111. Audi coming out of turn 5 through 6, and then the sprint, as it were, through the kink or curve of 7. And opportunity, if you get close enough, I don't think Valentino is close enough to think about a move down the inside into turn 8.
Nicolas Bart, by the way, got going again in the Aston Martin and has done the fastest lap of the race in his catch-up. It may not survive, of course, but we'll see what progress that car can make in his and then Matteo Drudi's hands as the field streams up towards turn 9. In the darkness there, number 96, Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche all over the back of Benjamin Goethe's McLaren. Then there is Constant Lapalainen, Luca Engschler, Gilles Magnus, a whole line of cars all queued up as they come now down to turn 12. Charles Weerts trying to get away as the field turns up towards the completion of the lap, and already the track limit warnings are coming. Even in the darkness, drivers have nowhere to hide. Rossi on the back of the Audi.
Yeah, had a look, he had a sniff at trying to find a way around the 111 Audi, but again, it's not sufficiently close. You've got to be alongside coming through turn 12 to claim 14 as your own corner, so he wasn't quite clear, you know, just backed out of it because it's still about 50, how many minutes are remaining? 52.24 minutes remaining.
Over the line, go Weerts, go Auer, and the margin is 9/10 of a second between them. 69 is Giacomo Altway then, and Valentino Rossi up one place, got ahead of Gachet, and Gachet's not letting him go, but we'll see what Valle can do now about the traffic ahead.
Yeah, he just was quicker down into turn 1, got alongside, made the pass, and really there was 2 cars in 2 different categories. There's no need to go to war about that because one's leading the gold and one's leading the pro category, and that's, you know, just drive your own race. You've got to win your own class, and don't fight battles which are not going to do you any big favours.
And let's have a look at how Valentino Rossi took the place up the inside into turn 1. And in fairness, Gachet gave him the room, but Valentino Rossi through, wriggles past, and a good move.
Yes, the team WRT like that. They like it a lot. Come on. That's Charles Weerts' dad.
Yeah.
Eve Weerts, you can see the competitive spirit starts with the dad and runs through the line, through to the son.
I was watching Vincent Voss's face, almost confused, like, what's going on? Have we gained the place? We have, yes, excellent. Start applauding. So that puts Valentino Rossi 4th, and now released. Let's see what he can do about Giacomo Altway. That's Phil Keane going through in the Mad Panda Mercedes, and 14th. This is 69, Giacomo Altway, staying with Lucas Auer, but Auer is dropping back a little bit, and then Valentino Rossi 4th going after Altway.
Good job, Dave, good job.
Team urging him on. Good job done thus far. He's up 1 spot into 4th. And he needs to stay in the mix, ready for Maxime Martin to take over that car. Weerts, fastest lap of the race now, and he's 1.3 seconds clear of Altway. Valentino Rossi did, on that last lap, 2 absolute best in sectors, so man inspired.
Absolutely. Well, you know, confidence builds confidence. As you say, safety cars build safety cars. The fact is, Rossi made a good exit at turn 16, got the run down. He was on the outside going into turn 1, but that then gave him the opportunity to hold the inside through turn 2. But the job was done in reality on the entry into turn 1, and that's competitive racing. I mean, there was no favours given because of Valentino Rossi, you know.
Absolutely right. They're going through. He's 1-1-1, Simon Gachet. He's still leading gold. That's the main aim here for Simon Gachet, who will hand over to Lucas Legeret for the 2nd stint in the CSA Racing Audi. 2nd in gold is Luca Engschler, and 3rd is Gilles Magnus. The leading silver is Ivan Klimenko's Santa Lock Audi. 2nd silver, Sam de Haan. 3rd silver, Sean Hudspeth's Ferrari. So towards us comes Charles Weerts. And I think you can safely say now it is dark at Misano, isn't it? But he leads by 1.3 seconds, and Lucas Auer has just done an absolute best within the 1st sector, so he's not giving up.
Absolutely not, but overall on a lap, he's losing fractions every lap. 1.3 seconds is the gap 1st to 2nd, and it's probably going to increase by another 2-3 tenths of a second by the time they come up to complete lap 6.
Ivan Klimenko's Audi there is the leading silver, and hat tip to our camera crew in the darkness for being able to find the right Audi at the right time, especially when they're in a battle like this. Luca Engschler ahead of Gilles Magnus, ahead of Ivan Klimenko. The 3 Audis running together. Over the line they go. Back on board here with 93, Jonathan Hui, 20th overall, but leading bronze.
Yeah, but you can see the gap that's opened up between the 20th position and Aurelien Panis. Different classes, mind, one's silver, one's bronze, but that gap's over 3 seconds. But Jonathan Hui, all he's got to do is just focus on what he's there to do.
Lead gap, 1.8 now. Weerts to Auer, BMW to Mercedes. It's Ferrari 3rd, Giacomo Altway there, and Altway getting closer to Auer, isn't he? That gap half a second now.
Yeah, so you can see just how much closed down going through up the hill, up into turn 9. So Giacomo Altway has gained on this last lap and is continuing to gain more or less by the corner now. We're onto the quickest part of the circuit, 245, maybe 50 kilometers per hour before you have to really slow the car down for turn 12, and then the sequence of 13 and 14. In fact, you can see how much the Mercedes has pulled away from the Ferrari. Now that wide-angle camera lens exaggerates the gap. It looks a lot more than maybe what is a second and a bit.
Yeah. My theory about Darren Lung being the one that was turned around at turn 1 is bearing fruit, because contact between number 991 Darren Lung and 18, the Lamborghini of Pietro Degli Guanti, under investigation. So Darren Lung was tagged into the spin, therefore, and contact between Nicolas Bart and Alex Arca, his adversary at turn 4, also under investigation.
Well, if it was the Audi that tagged the Aston that was tagged from the rear, that was clear. Rear and clear, is that rhyming? Anyway, I suspect Alex Arca may have to explain his actions, but it was on the opening lap. There's a lot of traffic moving around, and sometimes you find yourself in a very difficult situation which wasn't of your making. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt.
You are, indeed. Whether the stewards concur, we'll wait and see. Right now, Giacomo Altway chasing Lucas Auer. Last lap, Charles Weerts did the fastest lap of the race, a 1:33.1. And he's 2 seconds clear of Auer, who in turn is 7/10 up the road on this car. But Giacomo Altway in the Ferrari, hoping to please the Italian fans by another good result, because they were well placed at the end of the first race with the podium. And here they are again, chasing after Lucas Auer's Mercedes, and definitely Auer dropping into the clutches of the Ferrari now. He cannot live with the pace of the BMW, and instead that Ferrari is becoming more of a threat. And Altway, hand off the wheel, almost frustrated now, because he's good at certain parts of the circuit, and yet the grunt of the Mercedes pulls it clear at others.
Yeah, there's a big frustration you can catch here, coming through turns 12, 13, and then into the final part, 14. Close, I mean, over halves the distance between the Mercedes and the Ferrari. But then when you get back on the throttle, that initial squirt out of 14 through 15, not much to pick and choose. It's really on that long back straight, or here coming out of 16 down into turn 1, where it's frustrating for Giacomo Altway, because he can see the Mercedes just grabbing a couple of car lengths advantage as they come into turn 1. The Ferrari will close down that gap, but he's not able to do it in a meaningful manner that's going to put a challenge on the second place Mercedes.
So Auer there, second, and Giacomo Altway third. Valentino Rossi is behind them in fourth place, and he's not really catching. He's sort of pegged them, but he's not being able to close. He might do if they get together and squabble, though.
Just look at the spread of the lights in the Ferrari. Yeah. They're almost pointing out at right angles. So those are lights that you might want to use, not so much here in Misano, but certainly going to Spa-Francorchamps, where it will be really dark when you get into the nighttime hours. So the lights are spreading out, you know, almost 120 degrees from the front of the car.
The days, of course, of rear windscreens are a thing of the past. The cars these days have a little video camera, and that's how they use for the mirror. Of course, go back a long, long time for things like the Spa 24 Hours, when it was a saloon car race. You'd have all the black tape on the rear window to get out some of the glare. But at the moment, those Ferrari lights bearing down on Lucas Auer. And Charles Weerts continues to pull away up front. So you're on board with the Ferrari. We'll get another external shot, I'm sure, of those lights, and have a look at the weird angle at which they point. There it is, and you can see where the beam spreads on the road ahead. And yeah, some forward, but the others, as you say, splayed out to the side.
I mean, really, they are splayed out, and I don't know whether that's done deliberately or whether it's in preparation for Spa. But what it's enabling Giacomo Altway to do is really get a better idea of where the reference points are when you come down, for example, coming into turn 1. He's got a much wider spread of light giving him that indication of where to turn, or where to lift off, where to brake, and where to turn.
There is second and third. Charles Weerts, 2.8 seconds to the good. He's now done the fastest lap of the race, a 1:32.9. So the lead BMW getting away. The fastest lap of the race earlier on was by Charles Weerts, a 32.2 in the daylight, so he's not that far off it. Of course, it's cooler now, which might be helping the pace of the cars. Counter that with the lack of natural light.
Yes, but also remember, there's a lot more fuel on board than there would have been when he was doing his stint. Was the second stint when the fuel would have been lower on fresh tyres. So I think this is a very impressive drive right now from Charles Weerts. He's used the advantage of pole position. He had to defend, but he's been able to maintain it on the opening lap, and now by the lap he's pulling 2-3 tenths of a second on a consistent basis.
Simon Gachet, gold leader. That's second in gold. Luca Enschler, number 6, and right up behind him is Gilles Magnus in 25, Santa Lock Audi. The Audi's coming out of 3 different teams, but still a good turnkey GT3 car, the Audi. It may not have the development now that the other brands have, but it's at a good stage of development, so it's still competitive, at least for this season. And second and third, look at Engschler, DTM race winner, and Gilles Magnus right up behind him. So Gilles looks for a way by. The Santalot car, different co-driver for him for this season, now with Paul Everard. And the very rapid Belgian former touring car racer, used to race against Rob Huff, now managed by Rob's management company that he has with Will Fuchs. And Gilles, having had a look at the British Touring Car Championship last weekend, was able to see the boss in action. Now he wants to get past Luca Engschler, whose father, Franz Engschler, was no mean touring car racer himself. There are the two Audis, the Nicky Molly Team Engschler with one group car just ahead for the moment of Gilles Magnus, and the margin between them 0.2 of a second.
You've got these three Audis all of identical performance.
Yeah.
And I mean, essentially, you're getting a stack of Audis. Charlie Eastwood was a part of that three-car chain. There's now the gap opening up between 11th Klemenko and Eastwood in 12th position. It's now 0.7 of a second. I say it's opening up, well, it's a little more than a breath.
Ivan Klemenko's number 26 Audi is the leading silver. Sam de Haan's BMW second silver. Ferrari Sean Hudsworth third. And then it's a Ferrari leading bronze, Jonathan Hui. Rob Collard is the second bronze, sharing with Sandy Mitchell. And then the third of the bronzes is another Lamborghini, and it's the car of Dimitra Gavatsova up from Super Trofeo to Fanatec GT. Meantime, we have got about 6 or 7 minutes, just under 7, before the pit window opens. You've got Charles Weerts 3 seconds clear in the lead of the race. We were saying before the race started he's going to take some stopping, but have a look here. Rossi up with Altway. Altway drops back from Auer, who on this lap has done an absolute best sector.
Well, Valentino is absolutely, he's been so alive since he won the race earlier this afternoon, and he was very courageous in taking the position away from the 111 Audi a little earlier. Now he fancies a sniff at the Ferrari of Giacomo Altway. That gap is down to 0.3 of a second. And I think the difference between the Ferrari and the BMW is quite simple. The BMW is quicker.
It is indeed. So Valentino Rossi, confidence up after that great drive earlier on in the day, chipping away at the Ferrari. And Lucas Auer, now that he's got away from Altway, I just wonder whether he can concentrate on catching up to Weerts. Well, he's taken the 10th out in the first sector of this lap as the cars steam down towards turn 7. Altway, then Rossi, Gachet still 5th, Goethe 6th, looking back here.
We know what a good car Mercedes is around this racetrack, but in these conditions, because there's an earlier race in the season, it's taken the track temperature and the ambient temperature a longer period to get the tyres on the Mercedes or the McLarens, for example, up to operating temperature. Lucas Auer will have done that now. He's got a 3.1 disadvantage to Charles Weerts. It's going to be nickel and dime between the two of them, because I think Weerts can now control his pace at the pace that Lucas Auer is running in the Mercedes. So if Auer makes a 10th or 2 inroads into Charles Weerts, Weerts will have enough in hand to increase it to about around the 3 or so seconds.
So Rossi chases Altway. You can see the speed of the two cars. Ferrari staying ahead for the moment of the BMW. It may well be, of course, that the teams, if they're stuck in traffic, elect to pit early to try to get out of the traffic and win a place on the pit stop. Engschler, Magnus, together, bouncing over the curb, 9th and 10th, 2nd and 3rd in goal. Proper battle for position between those two Audis, two of the young guns of GT3 racing. We know how good Gilles Magnus is. We're learning about Luca Engschler, but he was a gold winner at Brands Hatch, and a team that came along and said, we just want to gain respect, prove we can do the job properly, came away with a win. Perfect start.
Yeah, Gilles Magnus dropped the rear wheel, the right rear, off the circuit coming out of turn 15. We saw a big cloud of dust pop up, and that just illustrates how much pressure he is trying to exert on Engschler, the lead of this group of 3 Audis. Now, the lead Audi is, in fact, the number 111, Simon Gachet, in 5th place in the gold category. The following Audis, 2 of them are gold and 1 of them is silver.
Down towards turn 10 they will come this time. There is 96, that's Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche running in 7th place, going after Benjamin Goethe. But that, again, that Porsche has just looked, I don't know what the word is, lethargic all weekend. It hasn't had the pace, for example, that the dynamic GT car of Marvin Dienst had in the first race and already qualifying.
No, the dynamic Porsche has been the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
so far this weekend, but Marvin Dienst is not behind the wheel right now.
And Magnus goes ahead of Engstler then, so there's the change for second in goal. Gilles Magnus, brave to a fault, goes through up on the inside line. Good pass. Gilles Magnus now released, sets off in pursuit of Konsta-Lappalainen's Ferrari. And all of this getting you ever closer to the pit window. The Licky Molly liveried Audi looks great. Wheel over the curb, accelerates over the line, but he's lost that place. Engstler to Magnus now. And as the leaders work lap number 14, 3.4 seconds, split Wirtz from Auer.
Yeah, and Magnus is only 1.5 seconds behind Lappalainen in the 8th position pro driving or driven 14 Ferrari. So Magnus, having cleared that group of Audis, now can focus and try and get something that's going to be what we've got. We're 37 minutes of the race remaining. The pit stop window is going to open in about 2 minutes.
Yes, that's right.
Come on, the first 25 minutes have just flown.
Disappeared, haven't they? Replay here of the pass. I think of Gilles Magnus, he got a better line out of 11 through 12. Job done on the inside line. So look at Engstler, slots in behind him. And up front, Charles Wirtz leads the way. That is Niederhauser, 7th. Benjamin Goethe fending him off. The McLaren not really able to go after that leading quintet, but nor is he in jeopardy of losing that place, because the McLaren, I think it's fair to say, looks stronger than that Porsche.
It ought to be.
Yeah.
I mean, in qualifying, it qualified ahead of the Porsche, so that's been a strong car on the 3rd row of the grid. The Porsche was looking to see how far back it was. So, I mean, Benjamin Goethe has driven extremely well, I think, all weekend for the Garage 59 McLaren. And looking to see the sister car, James Cottingham, driving as a bronze entry. And we spoke to him on, yes, it was yesterday, in fact, and I think he's not entirely comfortable about nighttime driving here in Misano. He found it slightly unusual, put it that way. Maybe that's the wrong description. But gets his head down. He's currently 1, 2, 3, 5th in the bronze category, and still a long way to go.
And the bronze lead is getting very tight, isn't it? Because there, look, Rob Collard is on the back of Jonathan Hui. Rob absolutely charging. British GT race winner at Alton Park with his son Ricky, which is quite a moment. And of course, he's a British GT champion with the man. He's sharing the car with Sandy Mitchell, winner of the championship back in 2020. And Rob has become a real convert to GT racing. Loves it.
I mean, I think anytime Rob Collard is behind you and he's got his dander up, he is competitive. He is maybe one of the ultimate competitors that compete here week in, week out.
Like his dad, started in oval racing in hot rods, and then came to circuit racing in Formula Ford, in Vectras, then into touring cars, and for many, many, many years associated with BMWs in the touring car championship, but then moving to GT racing, load of new circuits, totally new discipline. For example, he'd never raced on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit until he raced a GT car, even though he'd raced on the national circuit forever and a day. And right now, he's taking the battle to Jonathan Hui. So it is game on for bronze. There is the leader. There is the second. So the Lamborghini, you can see how hard Rob Collard is pushing, because it's dancing all over the road.
Yes, the back end was just a little bit twitchy, a little bit nervous, but Rob doesn't mind a bit of nervousness. Get your foot on the throttle, boy.
And he does indeed. And he's still chasing after Jonathan Hui with the pit window imminent.
Drive-through penalty to car 99 for causing a collision with car 7 in turn 4.
That's Alex Arca, who is in 17th place, but he's about to not be. Drive-through is imminent. Right, pit window's open.
Yes, it is, and so much for me giving him the benefit of the doubt. That was not the opinion of race director Stuart. And flashing, he got those are the hazard lights he either accidentally hit, or was I just saying something? It is.
So Charles Wirtz, race leader, 3.4 seconds. He's done another absolute best sector on this lap. Jonathan Hui is in, so Rob Collard is in as well. It's going to be a battle in the pits now to determine who goes out first. But then also, of course, you've got this battle of the co-drivers, Eddie Cheever versus Sandy Mitchell, going into the second stint of the race.
Yeah, I think that was probably pretty much even Stevens. Sandy Mitchell doing a great job for the Barwell Motorsport team, but Eddie Cheever has been around a long time and a very well-seasoned competitor.
Absolutely right. There is Charles Wirtz through the traffic, getting himself past Philip Saga's Porsche. And are we anticipating the car in at the end of this lap? We are. In comes the BMW, so the leader is in.
So the gap when they came across the line at the start of lap 16 was 3.4 seconds over second place Mercedes. Metronomic pit stop, as we always anticipate from WRT. And we have to wait and see when the Mercedes comes in, if they can match it. The Winward Racing team man, Filter Mercedes, leads right now, and Rossi, second position, 2.5 seconds in arrears.
One BMW going out of the pits. I thought for a moment Witts had missed the box, but there he is. He's arrived, comes in, and out he jumps. Dries Van Thor to get on board. So Lucas Al will take over the race lead temporarily.
Yes, and Charles Witts is the taller of the two drivers, so it's actually easier for the taller driver to get out and then the shorter one to get in. They've got seat inserts. Normally, or used to be, you could adjust the seat, but that I think now is something in the past. So you can either adjust the pedal box fore and aft in the steering column, or you have a seat insert.
Interesting how many have pitted really early. Valentino Rossi then up into second place for the moment. Simon Gachet third. And we'll see what the pit stop time is going to be from 32 BMW once it blasts back into the race. Sven Muller has just rejoined the race. 1:59 has been in to give way to Tom Gamble. So Lucas Auer on track leads unless he pits this time.
First of the WRT stoppers was Callan Williams, and that was a 1 minute 4.3 seconds, and that's the quickest time I think we've seen. And there was a 1:55 for Vantor. So the Vantor stop was slower than the sister team car.
It was. So 32's pit stop, 65.5 seconds. And in comes Valentino Rossi. And they could do with this pit stop being quicker than 32's to bring it a little bit closer. So he loosens the belts, can't undo them, but he can loosen them ready to jump out of the car. Remember that the Pro Cup, the gold and silver pit stops are all what you might call a natural pit stop, as quick as you can, whereas in bronze they're done to a regulation pit in to pit out time. Valentino Rossi to give way to Maxime Martin.
When Witts came in, he came in quite quickly, had a little lock-up just to bring the car to a standstill. That was a better entry into the pit lane. Now, whether it was as committed as that of Charles Witts, I don't know, but Maxime Martin quickly in the car. Valentino Rossi helps him, assists with the lap belts. You've got a crutch straps, you've got the strap goes around your midriff, and you've got a big buckle. You've got to get all those items all put in together. So there is now Dries Van Thor behind the wheel, and clear road. He'll be delighted with that. That's been a very good strategic time to bring in the 32 BMW. Clear road, he can drive as he chooses.
Lucas Auer has stayed out, and of course this car is now on fresh tyres. Where is Valentino Rossi's car? Maxime Martin at the wheel, not that far behind. There is Maxime Martin now, blasting back onto the racetrack, and I would say he's nearer to 32 than the car was before. That pit stop then from number 46, putting...
There's a 1:03.8.
Thank you,
so
found it.
Almost 2 seconds quicker than the 32.
So it's a quicker stop for Martin in 46.
And Lucas Auer now in the what was the lead Mercedes. He comes into the pit lane as well, and that car will be handed over to Mauro Engel. So they will be looking for a pit stop comparable with WRT to try and put themselves back into a potential podium position. But now that the two BMWs would appear to have control, you know, with Dries Van Thor leading and Maxime Martin effectively in second place.
Right, Mercedes stops. Engel, who's an Endurance Cup champion, would dearly love to be sprint champion. DTM racer as well, of course, former Australian Supercars racer. He's on board, and Charles Witts' fastest lap for the moment remains. Dan Harper taking over from Darren Lung, doing absolute bests in sectors, the Northern Irish star. And Mauro Engel then getting on board 48, but it's going to lose the lead, surely, to this car, which will go back ahead at the end of the lap. Dries Van Thor at the wheel, and Maxime Martin not really close enough, is he? I think the margin will have stretched by the end of the lap. Through now goes Van Thor. And where's the Mercedes going to blend back in? Let's see.
So it's making its way down at 50 kilometers per hour, goes across the line, now is released. Can it slip in between the two BMWs? I don't think, is it going to happen? Well,
yes, it has, hasn't it?
It has indeed.
There is Maxime Martin,
just in that night light and just where the pit lane exit is in relation to where Valentino Rossi is. So that's great work by their pit stop, 1 minute 5.4, very similar to the 32 BMW, not as quick as the 46. So nevertheless, it's got them into that second place, or maintaining that second place.
Has indeed. So it is Van Thor from Engel from Martin, the top three. And good pit work all round. But now, let's see whether that Mercedes is going to be able to do what it couldn't do in the first stint and narrow the gap to the race-leading BMW. We've got 28 3/4 minutes of the race to go. Gilles Magnus leads on the road, but he owes us a pit stop.
Yes, but remember, Maro Engel is on a fresh set of rubber, which will not be up to full operating temperature, and that may marginally impede the initial pace of the 48 Mercedes in comparison to the lead BMW or even Valentino Rossi, who is behind, because the 32 came in first, so his tires are up to temperature. The 46 was in second. They're up to temperature more or less, and it's unfortunately for Maro Engel that he was the last of those lead cars to stop, and he may well suffer as a consequence. But Maro Engel, there you see him coming down into turn 1.
And he's 3 seconds back from Vanthoor, and he's 8/10 up on Maxime Martin. So 3.8 seconds covers your leading 3 stoppers. Gilles Magnus, Charlie Eastwood, Reece Barr ahead. They've all to serve their regulation stop, but you can see that Mercedes is coming under attack, not attacking, not getting away, but having to fend off a rearguard action in a sense. Maxime Martin's BMW getting closer as the cars now sprint again down towards turn 8. And Maxime Martin getting ever closer to Maro Engel. That Mercedes is going to be able to get some points out of this race, but not the win that they would ideally have as the cars now go towards turn 9. Martin is getting closer and closer, corner by corner.
Yes, he is. And Maro Engel is fully aware. And now he's almost right into the boot lid of the second place Mercedes, and an opportunity. But the Mercedes has proven to be very good in a straight line, and Valentino, well, he's very happy indeed with his afternoon and evening's work, so he's joyous. But watch Maxime Martin, he sees an opportunity, but is he going to be close enough? Is he going to be courageous enough? Or even foolhardy enough to make an attempt? And he wisely thinks no.
Yeah, Maxime Martin is not somebody that we associate with taking silly risks, nor is Maro Engel, in fairness. You've got 2 really good, solid, quick drivers here who've got great reputations in GT cars. Maro Engel comes up towards the timing line. He's not going after Wirtz, after Vanthoor. That gap is growing, and the margin now, as over the line has gone the Mercedes, is 3.6 seconds. And of course, part of this is that Engel is busy defending. So while he's defending, he's going slower. Yes,
but also Dries Vanthoor, we know how fast he was in the car last night, and illustrating that. But again, Maxime Martin all over the back of Maro Engel, but not in a position to really threaten. Coming through 4, then the swing back through 5. Prepare yourself to try and make a lunge into turn 8 if you are quicker through turn 6. But by now, tires on the Mercedes should be in that operating range, in that window where it's giving confidence to Maro Engel now to lean on the car. And here in particular, turn 8, you take an early apex, then let the car run out to the side of the track. And there's nothing that Maxime Martin at this point is able to do. But he might think about it.
Nose to tail.
He thought about it, but there's no space.
Yeah, and look, both of them hug the curb on the inside line, not just use a little bit of it, all 4 wheels on the curb on the inside. So there's absolutely nowhere that Martin can go through there, because the one line is completely full of Mercedes. He's to the outside, then he wants the undercut out of 11. Outside line to 12, that's brave, and it ain't going to work there. He's trying to force a little error out of Engel, wants him to run slightly wide, up towards 13 and 14, then to the hairpin. This is for second place in real terms of the pit stoppers. They're also being caught by Thierry Vermeulen as well. So as these 2 get themselves together, it gives Vanthoor a free ride up the road, but it's bringing the number 69 Emile Frey Racing Ferrari into the mix as well.
Well, it's going to be all... What have we got? We've got 24 minutes remaining, and this battle for second place is probably going to be joined by, for about, what, maybe 3, 4, 5 cars before we get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, there's Vermeulen, then Sven Muller, then Tom Gamble. We've just had Gilles Magnus and Charlie Eastwood come into the pit lane, by the way, to give way to Paul Evrard and to Salo Joric, respectively. You're still on board with Maxime Martin, the winner of race 1. And that is the Maro Engel Mercedes that Lucas Auer started just up the road ahead. And Valentino Rossi absolutely focused on the picture, looking at the rear of that Mercedes, waiting to see where Max might be able to make the move. Down now to turn 8, can't do it there.
No, but he might be able to get alongside. Maro Engel ran wide on the exit, but Maro Engel is so clever at covering the racetrack that Maxime Martin really would like to plant the BMW upon. So he's really spoiling Martin at every opportunity. Martin's trying to think beyond the corner we're coming to, maybe 2 or 3 corners all around the circuit. And Maro Engel is on it and not giving an inch up to the BMW.
BMW on the tail of Mercedes. BMW getting away in the race lead. There was half an opportunity there for Maxime Martin. You can see the pressure. Mauro Engel is under, but he's hanging on to second place in the race then as they come up now out of turn 14. Valentino Rossi just allows his eyes to avert from the screen for 1 split second. The Mercedes maybe is pulled away by a length, but only because Maxime Martin rode a curb. Out of 16 now, up towards the line. Dries Van Voort, the race leader, 4 seconds clear last time. Now they go over the line, and the margin between Van Voort and Engel down a little bit, 3.3 seconds. What was going on there? That was a slow lap by Van Voort, a 1:34.2, and these two cars in the 33s. Purely traffic, I wonder?
I don't know. There was no obvious reason for Van Voort to lose time, but again, Maxime Martin closing up into turns 4 and 5 and just almost puts himself into a position to compromise Mauro Engel.
So Van Voort, the race leader, and again, slightly down on Engel in the first sector. Curious. But Mauro Engel still can't really go after that BMW because he's having to defend from the other one. The best lap of the race, John has just spotted. Ben Green, having taken over from Consta Lapperline. And remember, the man that got pole position at Brands Hatch was second on the grid for the first race, but he's the quickest man in the race right now.
And he's all over the rear of Tom Gamble in the 159, Garage 59 McLaren. The gap was 0.3 of a second. So Ben Green is charging in the Ferrari. Now, in case catching, again, the same old story, catch, but where are you going to pass?
Maxime Martin's pondering all of that as well as Engel is catching him. Engel is catching Van Voort because in the sectors he's taking fractions out of him, and he did it on the last lap and he's doing it again now. Another 0.3 just under taken out in the middle sector. So they're going through is Maxime Martin. Now this could be Dries Van Voort just driving within himself, but he goes across the line and the gap between the top two is now 2.9 seconds. That's another 0.4 pullback.
That's a lot of time. I don't know why. I can't imagine any reason Dries Van Voort would want to allow this charging battle for second place to catch the lead car. Up the inside. No, that's a back marker. They're getting overtaken. So unless there's something we're not aware of with the 32 BMW, either maybe Dries Van Voort is being just a little bit overly relaxed. Maybe he knows in himself, I've got more pace if I need to display it. But certainly the pace of second and third place, Maxime Martin, Mauro Engel, is drawing them closer to the lead BMW.
Yeah, it's only hundreds gained in the first sector. You had a look a moment ago. There they are again. Callan Williams and Sam de Haan leading in silver. They won earlier on in the day. They could be doing the double here. And a third win of the year beckons, therefore. It's Callan Williams at the wheel of that car. Second goal is Gilles Stadsbader, who took over from Ivan Klimenko. And that is Jeff Machiels having a big lose. Just gets away from behind Mikael Gustafsson's Mercedes. Rotates. And hopefully hasn't hit anything solid. As side by side, just keeping Martin at bay, is Mauro Engel. This is a fabulous battle.
Yeah, Mauro Engel just drives down the back straight on the right-hand side of the racetrack and says, Maxime Martin, if you want to pass me, find the long route. I'm not going to give you the short one. And Maxime Martin hasn't got an answer yet.
No, exactly. And all of this, of course, helping Van Voort, because if they're squabbling, they're slower. Last time the gap was 2.9 seconds. They go across the stripe now, and the gap is 2.9 seconds. So, again, the lead BMW, given that it's in clear track space, isn't hammering away. And it makes you wonder, were Martin to get past Engel, what he could do about the race leader?
I think what we saw in the first race, the two BMWs, they were allowed to race one another, the caveat being, do not hit each other, do not take each other off, do not damage either car. At the end of the day, it was a great victory for BMW, for Valentino Rossi, for WRT. Different race altogether now.
Yeah, I just wonder if Van Voort isn't pulling away because he's got a problem, whether he'll be able to repel the challenge of a comparable paced car, because clearly the Mercedes can't get to it. Couldn't do before. And a little bit deep there goes Mauro Engel. He's able to cut across and get back to the apex just in time, but I thought for a moment he was going off the road. He seemed to be really deep into turn 10.
There was a different line he took this time into turn 9 and 10 than on previous occasions. And when we've gone back to the battle that's going on midfield, we got the Audi... Lucas Legere in 12th position, yes.
Yeah, second in gold.
Behind them.
Yeah, Legere second in gold now because they've been jumped by the Magnus Everard Audi. Engel's taken a 10th out of the leader in each of the two sectors so far.
I'm confused.com.
Yeah, I think I am as well. I can't believe this is Vanthor just driving cautiously because we know what a committed fighter he is. They're going through is Paul Everard. That's the Gold Cup leading Audi after Gilles Magnus's great stint. There's Engel, there's Martin as they come out of turn 3. Gap down again to 2.8, and it's down between these two and Maxime Martin. Oh, so frustrated. I still reckon he could get up with Vanthor were he to clear Engel, but there's no reason for Maro to make it easy. He wants the points for second place.
Well, there's a lot of honour here between the two competitors, and Mercedes right now splitting that BMW lockout. So he's got a big responsibility in his hands for his brand, let alone for his own pride's sake.
So through they turn out of 8. And in the first sector of the lap, on this lap, finally, Vanthor is a little bit quicker than Maro Engel, only fractionally, but he's responded, or Engel has been further delayed by having to defend. You takes your money and makes your choice. There they come towards us then, and it's BMW from Mercedes, from BMW, Ferrari, Thierry Vermeulen still 4th, Porsche 5th, Sven Muller, McLaren 6th, Tom Gamble, and a personal best middle sector by Engel. That was 4/10 quicker nearly than Vanthor in one sector alone.
Confused.com yet again. I mean,
yes.
There's no logic to it, because why would Dries van Thor allow that gap to be under 3 seconds when he's got clear road ahead of him? He can drive how he chooses. Maro Engel's having to making compromises to keep Maxime Martin behind him. Martin's having to make compromises likewise to find a way around the 48 Mercedes.
So the gap was 2.8 seconds between the leaders, and the gap is 2.2 this time. So 6/10 gained on that lap alone by Maro Engel. There's something that can't be right with 32, surely, for it to be losing time like this. There's no reason for it to be happening.
All I can think is when Dries van Thor got behind the wheel, he pushed really, really hard on his set of tyres, and maybe he's just pushed them a little bit too hard, too early, and consequently he's having to deal with a car that hasn't got the balance and the grip that he enjoyed in his earlier phase. Can't think of anything else. I mean, there's no obvious mechanical reason that we're being made aware of or is being indicated from what we're seeing from the car on track.
Another personal best by Engel, 2/10 quicker. And you can have a look at the graphic, which is showing the pace of the BMW compared to the average in the class, and it is not as quick as the average, it's below the average. So it is slow relative to the other cars within the class. Over the last 5 laps, it has been slower than the class average, and that means that Engel, 2.2 seconds behind, was quicker in Sector 1, he's quicker in Sector 2. That gap is going to be around 1.9 seconds, I would offer you, by the time they get to the timing line, if not closer.
And Thierry Vermeulen is doing a great job likewise. He's closing himself back to the tail of the 46 BMW, so it's going to be a 3-way battle in the next couple of minutes for the battle for second place. And we've just got over 15 minutes of the race remaining.
Yeah, 15 minutes and possibly a gap of under 2 seconds this time. Vanthor is going to have to really work hard for this one. Over the line they've gone. I was offering you 1.9. Oh, close. 2.070. Not quite come down as much, but it's a personal best lap from Engel and a personal best lap by Martin, and they're both quicker than Vanthor.
And don't forget the Ferrari, just sort of the doppelganger of this 3-car battle. So he's just literally coming alongside or coming behind Maxime Martin, and the Ferrari has had clear air so far to catch up to the back of these 2 cars battling for second place. He may find it slightly more difficult when he gets closer to the tail of the 46 BMW.
So along the straight they go, and Martin pulling out of the draft there, having a look on the wide line in. He wants the undercut, and this, I think, is the lap on which he's going to try, but the drive of the Mercedes off the corner keeps Engel ahead. Now to the outside line into 9. Again, Martin wants to go wide in, tight out, jump up the inside, but Engel is wise to this. He has been around the block. And then again, and he's still second.
Yeah, I mean, he's reading precisely what Maxime Martin is doing, and if the situation was reversed, I'm sure Maxime Martin would do the same thing. But Martin trying this time. Is he going to get closer? As this is as close, I think, coming down into turn 12, was about, he's been that close for many laps, in fairness. I thought this time looked marginally closer. But, I mean, what a great defensive drive from Maro Engel, what a great attacking drive from Maxime Martin.
In the first sector of this lap, Vanthor personal best. In the second, Vanthor personal best. I think he's had a call from the team to say, oi, quicken your pace, they're catching. So as he goes over the line, a gap that was 2 seconds is back up to 2.4. Whatever the Belgian is for pull your finger out, he's just done it.
I mean, it's unusual for Dries van Voor to back off for no other reason. He's a press-on race driver, and he would want to increase that lap if he had the pace to something like 10 seconds. Then when you get to that sort of zone, then you can start to think about, well, I'll preserve what I've got and I don't need to press hard. Maybe he's had an issue and he's had to make some form of adjustments within the cockpit. We don't know. We'll find out when this race is over. That's got to be the first question asked of Dries van Voor. Why did you lose so much time?
If it was him driving within himself, he certainly had that alert from the team now. 2 seconds it had got to, and so he's up the game. And in the first sector, fractionally faster was Engel. But you do now get the feeling that even if they do close, Van Voor's got enough in the tank to be able to just stretch away to safety.
I'm just looking at the timing and scoring. 32nd position, Mervyn Dinst in the Porsche set the fastest race lap, 1:32.5 on lap 27.
Yes.
A car that is in 32nd position. Okay, it's a bronze car, and the co-driver maybe not at the pace of Dinst. I think maybe that's the understatement of the evening. But Dinst is showing the Porsche does have pace, and if that car had been at the front, would it be a car challenging overall, or certainly for a podium position?
And remember, it was fighting for the race lead in race 1 when Dinst was at the wheel of it. So, yeah, Marvin, who we know is very, very quick, underlines that by doing the fastest lap of the race. Now, we're looking at bronze, where Hugo de Wilde is second. Third is Dan Harper. And Dennis Marshall in the Porsche in behind them is fourth. And then Louis Pret, and then Sandy Mitchell, having taken over from Rob Collard. That car dropped a long way back on the pit stops, didn't it? But right now, although Eddie Cheever is getting away up front, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth in bronze, could be anybody's. Yeah, there's a bad idea going in that sort of bronze situation, and you've just got the Aston Martin in 12th position, sort of out of place. That's the silver Aston Martin amongst a sea of bronze. Right, Dan Harper up the inside, brilliant move to get past Hugo de Wilde. And the British GT champion and the Endurance Cup Championship leader has done it. Dan Harper through, that's how you overtake.
That was a fourth right pass. Dan Harper set his course, he committed, and he made sure that the Lamborghini saw what was coming, and he had to give it a little bit of a wiggle just to make sure the point was made. As we go back to this battle for second place, and Maro Engel's got a, what? He's 2.3 seconds behind Dries van Voor, a quarter of a second ahead of Maxime Martin.
So it is Van Voor, Engel, Martin, Vermeulen, Muller, Gamble. And the Engel family very happy. For Engel watching on, second place for Maro. There is Maxime Martin, still pushing, but unable to do much about the Mercedes. Lead gap was 2.3 seconds last time around. This lap, the lead gap is 2.4. I think Van Voor is safe again. He's just stretched it far enough, hasn't he, to tease Engel.
Oh, I think so, but I'm still really curious as to why that gap came down over a space of, what, 6 laps. It then consolidated and has then gone back up again to almost 2.5 seconds. But a very worrying moment, I've no doubt, for the WRT team, unless there's some kind of radio traffic we're not being privileged to.
Gilles Stadsbader has had a spin, we understand, in 26, but rejoined, as there is Maxime Martin, winner earlier on in the day. But it does look as though Dries van Voor and Charles Weerts are on target then for a second win of the season. That's how the gap has been going between Engel and Martin in terms of the lap time. So 1 lap Engel quicker, but Martin being able to respond, and then it goes back the way of Engel. Vermeulen almost with them now in 4th.
So just looking at Maxime Martin coming through turn 10 onto this back straight. He gets close, he gets so close to the back of the Mercedes and thinks, have I got a chance? But Engel just hugs the inside of the racetrack all the way down through turns 11, 12, and then into the braking of 13 and then into 14. And there is nothing so far Maxime Martin has got to reply.
So through the darkness they come. And for third in bronze there, 97, Dennis Marshall in the car that didn't start race 1, the 97 Rotronic Porsche, now chasing after Hugo de Wilde, single-seater racer turned sports prototype racer, now GT driver, the underrated Belgian. And Dennis Marshall, of course, used to be part of the Audi family, and like many, has become a bit peripatetic this year, but he's found a home for Rotronic Racing, the very personable German driver. Sandy Mitchell, the Nottingham-based Scot, next in the queue in 78 Lamborghini. So bronze, which makes its first appearance of the year in Sprint Cup, giving us a really good battle. But Eddie Cheever is kind of doing a Van Voor. He's away up the road.
The gap first to second has increased on this last lap. So that'll be frustration, I think, more for Maxime Martin than anybody. I think Maro Engel isn't battling for the lead, he's battling to retain in second place.
Porsche goes through. Dennis Marshall still getting closer to Hugo de Wilde. So third and fourth they are in bronze. That's second and third overall and in pro. Engel versus Martin. We've got 8.5 minutes on the clock. So now Dries Van Voort is getting away once again. He's stretching that margin back out as Engel goes through shot. The Winward Racing Man Filter Mercedes ahead of the familiar 46 Rossi livery aboard Maxime Martin's BMW.
I mean, there's a real education from Maro Engel in how to defend a position in a car that arguably isn't as quick as the car that's challenging you.
So you can see there how now the 32 BMW is back ahead of the class average over the last few laps. So Dries Van Voort has speeded up. He's responded to the alert from the team to say the gap was about 2 seconds, and he's been able to respond. It's only 2.1 because last time Engel did a personal best lap. So interesting, isn't it? If he can shake off Martin and drive his own lines and not have to defend, he's able to go that little bit quicker.
I mean, in terms of an individual lap time, I mean, the Mercedes is doing a very good job. But the battle is between second and third place because he knows that Maxime Martin, could he clear the Mercedes, would pull away. So he's driving a car which is a tenth of a second, maybe less than that a lap, slower than the third place BMW. I mean, a really, really great illustration of clean defensive driving amongst two of the most professional drivers we have in the field.
Yeah, true enough. So Engel banking points, Maxime Martin a win and a third. Ain't a bad day at the office, is it? If that's the result come the end of it. And the number 6 Audi turns through there. That's Max Hofer chasing after Paul Everard. This is for second in gold. Everard having relieved, I should say, Gilles Magnus. They've lost out again, haven't they, to Lucas Legere in 1-1-1. So Legere's gone back into the lead of the class. So this is now for second. Lucas Legere, the CSA racing car, leads. Magnus just ahead of Max Hofer for second and third.
There was a poor stop for the 25 Audi, unfortunately. It's 1:15, I think it was. So that's, you know, almost 10 seconds away from, in reality, where they needed to be, and that's where the track position has been lost.
So back on board with Eddie Cheever, and he's got a couple of cars as a buffer between him and Dan Harper, even though Dan is absolutely flying, as you might anticipate. Eddie Cheever, who specialises in Ferraris. Yes, we've seen him in other brands with Sky Tempesta. We've seen him in the NASCAR Euro Series for a brief spell, but it really is in Ferraris that Eddie excels. That is Maxime Martin, and he's still chasing after Maro Engel, and the lead gap is 1.9 seconds again.
I mean,
Confused.com?
Well, absolutely, just over 5.5 minutes remaining, so we're looking at probably 3 laps. And Valentino's not quite so chirpy here as he was when he got out of the car. He was on the balls of his feet and smiles, but the realization, I think, is that as great a job as he did and Maxime Martin has done, that pit stop and allowing the Mercedes to get out and split the two Mercedes has sort of spelled a position they ain't going to get it done.
Although Martin is still pushing and 2/10 quicker in this sector than Engel. So, again, Maxime trying to force a mistake out of Maro Engel. But Van Voort, I think he knows that even if the Mercedes were to catch him, he'd still be able to turn up the wick. So he's got 5 minutes to go. He's not stressing the car. He's not stressing the machinery. He's not clattering it over the curbs. We've seen quite a few cars in strife with curb strikes during the course of a very long day at the Misano World Circuit. That now puts 34 laps in the book as over the line goes Dries Van Voort. And he's just done the fastest lap of the race, 2.3 seconds ahead. And Van Voort takes 2 metaphorical fingers, waves them at the Mercedes, and is the quickest man in the race, and he's stretched the margin to 2.3 seconds.
Salt, wound, ouch!
Yes, indeed. So Maro Engel hangs on to his second place, and Dries Van Voort, personal best and an absolute best in sectors 2 and 3 respectively, to therefore pull away. And then Engel speeds up in the first sector of the next lap and just narrows the margin ever so slightly by a 10th.
So Dries Van Voort makes his way through some of the back markers. That may be a contribution to this sort of seesaw that we're going on. The gap is now 2.3 seconds. And Charles Verts sitting back quietly, calmly thinking, Well, my man's done everything that he was asked to do. A flawless drive that we believe from Dries van Thor, and just under 4 minutes of the race remaining.
That's right. So it does look as though Dries van Thor and Charles Witt are going to be victorious, because as we made the point, every time the gap comes down to anything that looks a bit scary, there's pace in the BMW to pull away. So Dries van Thor could be on for an 18th win and a 15th win for Charles Witt. And they would be our first double winner of the season, having had a victory at Brands Hatch as well. There is Engel in second place. Comes up to the line. Maxime Martin looks like he's dropped back ever so slightly on that lap, and the leaders then go through with the lead gap hovering around the 2.3 second mark.
Yes, Martin dropped back by about a tenth and a bit. It's up to 7/10 of a second, and look at theirs, look at the sparks as Maro Engel slides it just to the very edge of the curb, and the skid blocks at the rear of the car kick up some sparks, but all within the regulation.
So they're going through is Martin, and Van Thor now has one last push to the checkered flag, another personal best within the first sector. So 32 BMW up towards turn 9. A faultless drive this by Dries, because he's always been in control. Yes, the gap has come down a little bit, but when he's needed to, he's up the pace again. Let's listen in.
Race gap is 2.3 back marker ahead. They are still fighting behind you.
Dries van Thor fully appraised of the situation, and that just gives him the peace of mind to drive his own race.
Yeah, so I mean, the information coming from the pit lane to say, listen, basically, it's our race to lose, and that isn't going to happen, because Dries van Thor has been just in control all the way through, albeit he's seen that advantage be ebbed away, but never ever has the 32 BMW since the driver, well, in fact, since the lights went out at the start of the race, been seriously threatened. And we've now got 1 minute and 40 seconds of the race remaining. We might get this lap and one more before the checkered flag comes out. It's going to be a very close call. I don't think Dries van Thor can afford to slow down too much and get the checkered flag and then see the race ended.
We've had a change for second in gold. Max Hofer ahead of Paul Everard. Now those two Audis have had a switch. But it is still this battle between Engel and Martin for second. At 1:59, Tom Gamble getting himself onto the back of Sven Muller. This is now for 5th and 6th. That Porsche, which stands out with its livery, hangs onto the place. But Tom Gamble, who's been another real asset to the championship this year, right on the tail as they sweep out of turn 4. And then behind the pair of them is another young, quick Brit. That's Ben Green in the number 14 Ferrari. So this isn't over until it's over. We're into the last minute of the race, but Dries van Thor is in the middle sector and therefore should be able to get one more lap out of this before the very end.
Yeah, Ben Green's done really well. He caught up to the back of the McLaren quite some time ago, but as we've seen throughout the race, you can catch. And then your momentum has been stalled out with the car you've been pursuing. It's trying to do the same thing with the car directly ahead. That's Sven Muller in the 5th place Porsche. So these three cars, it's the lead three, the Porsche, that's ultimately determining the pace of those two following.
So towards us they come, now down through the fast right, turn 11 into 12. There's the McLaren. Tom Gamble with the brake glowing in the darkness, rides the curb, bounces his way up towards turn 13. Sven Muller, Porsche specialist, hangs onto the place. Dries van Thor comes across the line with now just 6 seconds on the clock. So he's on his last lap, and a second win of the year and an 18th of his career in Sprint Cup beckons for Dries van Thor.
Yes, a fraction under 2.5 seconds first to second and 6/10 second to third. So Maxime Martin has not given up. He still thinks, give me the opportunity and I'll put my car up into that second position. As Mrs. Engel is sitting there very composed, look at her face, not concerned, just composed.
And Yves Witt looks on. His team is going to have a 1-3 and a class win. His son's going to be a race winner. So there's a lot to cheer for as Engel pounds on out of turn 8. Thierry Vermeulen, I think, might be a little bit frustrated because that Ferrari has never quite caught Martin, despite Martin being stuck behind Engel. It's always kind of missed that last 10th.
He got within a second, and he's been hovering around a second, but he's never been able to break into that second and get it down to 6th or 7/10. I thought at one point Vermeulen was on a, had a good momentum, good pace, and was going to run down Maxime Martin, but not in the last 5 or so laps.
So the BMW up towards turn 12, And now Maxime Martin for third, Mauro Engel for second, chase Dries van Thor towards the finish line because there's only one corner to go. Down towards 16 comes the BMW. Dries van Thor and Charles Weir started from pole. They've annihilated the opposition, and race 2 in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe. Sprint Cup won by the BMW of Team WRT for Dries van Thor and Charles Weir. A delighted Charles Weir there on the pit wall. Second, Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer, and third, Maxime Martin and Valentino Rossi.
Pole position for the 32, fastest lap for the 32, race victory for the 32. Doesn't get any better.
And in gold, it is going to be Lucas Legere for the win, with co-driver Simon Gachet. Silver, another win for Callum Williams and Sam DeHaan, and that's their second of the day, third of the year. And bronze is going to be 93, isn't it? The Eddie Cheever, Jonathan Hui pole-sitting Ferrari. So they've converted pole into the win from potentially Dan Harper and then Ugo de Wilde. So in gold, Legere and Gachet win. Now here is the 93 Ferrari, and it's got a corner to go. So Salo Joric just up the road ahead of Eddie Cheever, but he's going to be good for the win. Comes up towards the line. There, Charles Weir celebrates with anybody that wants to go and talk to him. The very approachable Belgian driver, delighted with the victory. Eddie Cheever has indeed come home to win in bronze. Second in the Gold Cup, Max Hofer and Luca Engschler, and third gold, Paul Everard, Gilles Magnus. Silver, Williams and DeHaan the winners. Second, Gilles Stadsbader and even Klimenko, and third, podium for the first time, I think, Mikael Gustafsson and Reese Barr. And then it was Cheever and Hui in bronze, second Harper and Lung, and third Ugo de Wilde in the 85 Lamborghini, and Dimitri Gavatsova, the second driver in that car.
Well, Valentino's fan club seems to have all entered into the garage. A lot of people there congratulating him. He did a great job at his stint, and his co-driver Maxime Martin did everything that was asked of him.
We did shit week for me, but thank you very much, guys. Really, thanks a lot.
Very happy Dries van Thor on the radio. But the BMW's looked strong all weekend, hasn't it?
Yes, I mean, they've came here, and not just the WRT, the other entrants were also strong throughout the weekend. And of course, the usual thing, you walk through the pit lane, and the question is, well, why are they so quick? Why are they so quick? And I mean, BUP is always the issue that every team who's not winning fastest race lap pole position is it why, why this and why that?
Yeah.
The WRT have done a brilliant job here this weekend with both their lead cars, the 32 and the 46. And that was just, I think, the beginning and the end of the story.
Well, as the cars come down the pit road, it's going to help, of course, the combination of Wirtz and Vantor for a fourth Sprint Cup title, potentially, because 2 wins so early in the season will really help in the championship. The BMW arrives at the winner's area. But such an impressive job done. And WRT, you always know, are going to build a strong car. The pit work we've seen season after season after season is so impressive. And Vanthor doesn't often drop the ball as a driver, nor does Charles Wirtz. Out he jumps. And after the disappointment, really, of only second place earlier on in the day, that means a lot to them.
Yes, and I mean, I think one would think if maybe there was an open opportunity for Charles Wirtz to find a way around Valentino, would he have taken it, or was maybe they were so close together, maybe it was decided that give Valentino the opportunity, he's the incumbent in the lead, and the value of doing so for all the partners, for the team, or whatever. But look, Dries van Thor, he's barely broken sweat, but I'd like to know what he's saying. Why was he allowing those following cars to get sufficiently close to give us concern?
Or maybe he was just content knowing that he had enough in the tank to pull away. But we'll find out, no doubt, in a few moments' time. The winning cars from each of the 4 classes come down the pit lane. Mauro Engel, I bet he's broken sweat after all that pressure from Maxime Martin behind. Lucas Auer is all smiles.
I think Lucas Auer actually quite enjoyed the fact that his teammate was driving under pressure all the way through. But Mauro Engel stood up and delivered. Did a wonderful job for the 48 entry, the Winwood Racing Team Man Filter Mercedes-Benz, the Mercedes AMG GT3. Oh, I'm out of breath saying all that. Give it its full identity. Maro's very, very happy with his day's work, or sorry, his night time's work.
Well, considering he was pretty downbeat earlier on, thinking it's going to be a hard day, a second place in that race is quite something. Well, we're better here, haven't we, from Dries van Thor and Charles Wirtz. Dries has got some explaining to do, and Antonio Rankin is with him.
Guys, congratulations. What a great weekend for you. This win must have felt like it was a long time coming. Dries, I've just got to ask, you seem to let the gap close a little bit in that final stint. Was there a reason for that?
No, I was just trying to push, and it was difficult. They were coming closer. I could pull away again. It was like a whole cat and mouse game the whole time, but the car was really good. I mean, we had the race one wasn't really, I mean, it wasn't perfect yet, but we made some good changes, and race two was a lot better. So big thanks to the team again, also for a great pit stop. I think yeah, every time we've been coming to Misano, it's always been good to us. So it's really happy to always come to Misano. The last 4 years, I think it has shown that it's always been good for us. So yeah, I think we just like the track and it suits us. So yeah.
And Charles, would you agree with that? Did the car really feel like it suited this circuit? I mean, the results speak for themselves, right?
Yeah, I think we had a very good car. We knew also that this track suits our car quite well. So yeah, we knew we had to seize the opportunity to score a lot of points. Yeah, we had personally had some brakes issue at some points. That's what also made for me the car quite. I'd say you could sometimes do a very good lap, and then it was a bit more tricky because the brakes were not really consistent. But at the end of the day, like Dries said, the guys in the box did an amazing job in the pit stop everywhere, so it's very nice. And yeah, just to finish, today is my mother's birthday, so I wanted to win this one also for her. So bon anniversaire, maman, c'est pour toi.
Congratulations, guys. Go celebrate.
Right, well, I think Charles Wirtz told us more about Dries van Thor's stint than Dries did. If it was a brake drama, now it explains it a bit.
I mean, very open and honest of Charles Wirtz to give us that information. But actually, you know what? If you're the team boss, you might say afterwards, you don't need to tell the public and everybody else in the pit lane that we've had a small issue.
Well, we now know. Well, Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer, I think, will be pretty chuffed with second. That's turned their weekend around quite considerably.
Guys, you certainly had us all on the edge of our seats there. It seemed like you were really close to closing up that gap in the final stint.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it feels like a win. Yeah, I mean, congrats to BMW. They were unbeatable for us this weekend, so for us, P2 feels like a win. Very kind of Dries to wait for us while I was having my fight with Maxime. Yeah, I hope it wasn't too boring for him, but anyway, yeah. Really happy. This guy did an amazing job yesterday, putting it in on the front row, and yeah, it feels really good to get that P2.
Well, it sounds like you really kept them on their toes, and I mean, even in race one earlier today, you made up so many places, so clearly the car was there.
No, I think overall we did a mega job, but as Marco said today, or this race really feels like a win because BMW was on another planet and we just executed really well, and so we're happy.
Congratulations, guys. Go and enjoy your feels like win.
Big smiles all round after a pretty tough evening yesterday for Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer. And again, those points may well be crucial come the end of the season. There's quite a break now for Sprint Cup for a couple of months because it's endurance that we turn our attention to at the end of June. The teams go to Spa this week. That's why another reason why we're racing on a Saturday, to give them time to get to Spa for the two-day test in anticipation of the CrowdStrike 24 hours. That's the last weekend of June. And Sprint Cup will be back in action in late July. Provisional results then of race 2 here. Dries van Thor and Charles Wirtz win from Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer. Maxime Martin third with the help of Valentino Rossi. Fourth, Thierry Vermeulen and Giacomo Altway. Fifth, Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser. And sixth, Tom Gamble and Benjamin Goethe. A win in gold for Lucas Legeret and Simon Gachet in the CSA Racing Audi. A win in silver for Callan Williams and Sam Dehaan, their second of the day for Team WRT. And a win in bronze for a Ferrari for Eddie Cheever and Jonathan Hui for Sky Tempesta Racing. And first time we've seen the car in Sprint Cup this year, Sky Tempesta going home with a victory. An Italian car winning on Italian soil. That'll be a hit with the fans. So the drivers making their way up to the podium. And podiums, plural, we will have, of course, with the different classes. But the BMW, as we've been saying, the car to have this weekend. and WRT with years of experience of running cars at Misano. Don't forget that Mercedes that Engel and Auer drive, Winward Racing, is a team relatively new to European racing. It started off as an American team and then with the assistance of Mercedes AMG has become a team running factory drivers. Former racer himself, Christian Hohenadel, now involved very actively in running that team, but they're a little bit behind in terms of experience and data of running cars in Europe. They're learning fast. Darren Lung, you can see, the bearded British GT champion with his cap on the wrong way. That'll go down well. Ready for the bronze podium. Drivers congregating, and second in bronze, Dan Harper and Darren Lung. Let's look at race 2. It began with a bang as Stefan De Noël get it wrong coming off turn 16 and was in the wall before he got to the timing line. That was his race down, and a safety car triggered. Not only for that, but also Darren Lung's BMW turned sideways at turn 1, and that dropped way, way down the order. And then more drama up at turn 4 when Alex Archer decided to use the Nicolas Bart Audi as a brake and went charging up the inside and cannoned into the side of the Aston and turned it around. Bart was able to rejoin, although in the end the car retired with Matteo Drudi behind the wheel. When the race got going again, there was a big push from Valentino Rossi, and he moved himself ahead of Simon Gachet in the number 111 Gold Cup leading Audi. More battles raged on lower down as Gilles Magnus worked his way up past Luca Enschler and therefore through into the lead of Gold Cup. Charles Weerts arrived all locked up as he slithered with precise parking into his pit box. But after the pit stops, although 32 led, it was the Mercedes in the hands of Mauro Engel that was up into second, and Maxime Martin in for Valentino Rossi, down to third. Engel pushed and closed on Vantor. Martin pushed and closed on Engel as the battle in bronze became ever more entertaining. True in gold and silver as well, and there was some great racing all the way around the circuit. Dan Harper ruthless as he got past Hugo de Wilde. Mauro Engel pushed and closed, and the sparks flew in his quest to get onto terms with Dries Van Thor in the lead, but he just could not get there in time. And every time the Mercedes closed, Dries Van Thor was able to just tweak the pace a little bit and pull away to take an 18th career victory, the second of the year for Dries Van Thor and Charles Weerts. So the drivers now on the podium, and all smiles, Mauro Engel. The teams being called forward. Valentino Rossi finding lots of people to wave to, as ever. And he'll be out on the podium to another great reception, no doubt, because we start with the overall, and third for Maxime Martin and Valentino Rossi. I know we've been saying it a lot today, but if you think about the fact that that was his greatest car race victory earlier on, well, a win and a podium, a win and a third on the same day, that now shows the level at which he's racing.
I think unquestionably the improvement we have seen over the last 2 seasons into the third season, and the progress now, yes. I mean, he had to, on one hand, defend, on the other hand, he attacked, and he raced as I would imagine a racer would do, not just a racing driver.
Second on the podium, the Mercedes AMG drivers there, Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer. Team WRT is the winning team, and the winning drivers are Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor. Out they come. Handshakes all round, and Dries Van Thor, Charles Weerts on the top step of the podium, their second win of the season. So congratulations to our winning drivers. Trophies come from Pirelli, and to Valentino, to Maxime. Matteo Braga, the Pirelli Circuit Activities Manager, hands over the trophies. Lots of applause for that. And Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer, who have developed into a really good driving force in a short space of time. Remember, Lucas Auer, new to Sprint Cup, but getting on with the programme. WRT, yet another trophy for the warehouse, never mind the cabinet, they've got so many. And for Dries Van Thor, for Charles Weerts, the winners' trophies here at Misano. So the BMW drivers will be ahead in the championship now after a second place earlier on in the day and that win. there is champagne to spray. Maxime Martin is the first one with the bottle. Valentino Rossi joins in the fun, gets a soaking from Dries.
He's not a stranger to spraying champagne.
No, indeed.
All his years at MotoGP, he got lots and lots of practice at it.
And a great job done by WRT. But 3 top combinations then on the podium, and our victorious drivers at the end of race 2 here at Misano in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup for Team WRT. Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts, they conquer Misano in the darkness after a great drive. So as the final photographs are taken on the pro podium, gold and silver and bronze to come. Drivers make their way back to the teams. Great shot looking down on the pit lane, all the teams all congregating there. They don't want Valentino to go, I don't think. As far as the global manufacturer points are concerned, taking Europe, Asia, Australia and America into account, Mercedes-AMG is ahead of Porsche, and BMW, after a good day of 2 wins, now not that far behind in 3rd. So the podium made ready for the Gold Cup, and there is Lucas Leggeret and Simon Gachet, the Gold Cup winners. The CSA Racing Concept Sport Automobile is the CSA part. Arthur Rougier, very quick racer himself, as we've seen, running that team, and there onto the podium for 3rd come Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus. For 2nd place it is going to be Max Hofer and Luca Engschler, the second of the day for them, and it's going to be a victory again for Lucas Leggeret and Paul Everard. Simon Gachet, I should say. Lucas Leggeret and Simon Gachet, the winners for CSA Racing. The very, very tall Lucas Leggeret towering over everybody. When he's on the top step, he'll be even taller. But along with Simon Gachet, a great job done for the CSA Racing team. So Simon Gachet puts his cap back on. Lucas Leggeret likewise. Matteo Braga comes with the trophies. And an all-Audi podium. The R8, still a competitive car.
Yeah, so it's found maybe its natural bed in these other categories outside of the pro category, and a total domination from the podium from the Ingolstadt brand.
And for a new team, CSA Racing, to take a victory so early in the team's lifespan. Impressive indeed, as there Matteo Braga gives the trophy first to Simon Gachet, now to Lucas Leggeret, who's all smiles. Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus look rather enviously across at them, I think, there, but they know that it's going to be a competitive fight all year in gold, and now the champagne is about to be sprayed here. Simon Gachet gets a soaking, and Lucas Leggeret, who, as I say, towers over everybody, always has the upper hand.
Oh, certainly. I mean, he was pretty good with the champagne there, and you know, the worst thing, you get it in your eyes, and then you can't move because you can't see. But delights from the 3 Audi team drivers, and they've all driven hard this evening,
yeah,
to achieve their respective positions on the podium.
Well, good job done, and it means that Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus are just half a point ahead of Luca Engschler and Max Hofer in the championship now. Simon Gachet and Lucas Leggeret 3rd, and then a little bit distant 4th, Salo Joloch and Charlie Eastwood. So the silver podium will be next. Callan Williams and Sam DeHaan having rather dominated that, but first up there. Sean Hudspeth and Jeff Mackiels, with a penalty, I think, being given to 57, so they drop back in the class. Second, Ivan Klimenko and Gilles Stadsbader. And then another victory for WRT, and this time it is the Silver Cup BMW, so that will go the way of Callan Williams and Sam DeHaan once more onto the podium as category winners. Last year's International GT Open champion Sam DeHaan, graduate of British GT, all smiles. And Callan Williams, the Australian, joins him on that top step. So another victory for WRT. The third place car over the line, Reese Barr and Mikael Gustafsson, given a 5-second time penalty for track limit offences. So that promotes there, despite the spin, Jeff Mackiels and Sean Hudspeth to third. Then second place for Gilles Stadsbader, joining Ivan Klimenko this weekend. So another of the Santa Lock Audis taking a good result, but it's another of those WRT BMWs that takes the class win. And Callan Williams, the Australian driver, Sam DeHaan, who's been very impressive ever since he came into GT racing as a rookie with Barwell many years ago. They take honours for the second time today, and Sam DeHaan grinning from ear to ear. There are the checks as well to the season-long entrance. So second in silver, and the Silver Cup winning check for effectively a set of tyres, or sets of tyres going to the winning team. So more photos to be taken, and one podium beckons for the bronze drivers. Sam DeHaan and Callan Williams eager with the champagne. Jeff Mackiels has gone, not playing, busy. Sean Hudspeth, the Singaporean driver, is there. Fights back on behalf of Ferrari. Clink of the bottles, and the last podium for the bronze graded drivers, the bronze cap entrance beckons. And in silver then, that was the winning car, dominant really all day. Callan Williams, very, very quick, perhaps a bit underrated really, because he's in the classes, so to speak. You perhaps overlook him, but he had great pace last year, remember, with Nicholas Crutten, the same again now with Sam DeHaan. And Callan Williams, Sam DeHaan taking honours as the third win of the season in the WRT BMW. Callan Williams and Sam DeHaan well clear by 20 points already from Jeff Mackiels and Sean Hudspeth. Cesar Gazo and Aurelien Panis. Disappointing day for their Mercedes as well, with two retirements. They're down in third, with the absent Tom Fleming and Alessio O'Donoghue fourth in the standings. So, Sky Tempesta Racing returns to Fanatec GT and takes a win. Eddie Cheever and Jonathan Hui in the Ferrari coming out on top, and an excellent result for the Italian car on home soil. There's just something about Sky Tempesta that we always associated with Ferraris, and it does look as though they're happy once again with an Italian car. There you've got on the podium Dimitra Gavatseva and Ugo de Wilde, now Dan Harper and Darren Lung. The winning team, Sky Tempesta Racing, represented on the podium as well, and that means next will be Eddie Cheever and Jonathan Hui, who come for a bronze cup win. Dan Harper's already got the cork out of the bottle of champagne. He's on it.
He's got the lead off it anyway. He's got the seal off it. He's not going to hang about. He's going to pop that cork as earliest opportunity. And well, Dan Harper, we saw that great overtake down into turn 14. Got his elbows out when he was passing the Lamborghini, and was not going to take a prisoner with that move.
So for Sky Tempesta Racing, for Eddie Cheever, the Italian-American, for the Hong Kong driver, Jonathan Hui. It is a victory and a very good result. That'll give the team a boost, not only because of the frustrations of the last few years of McLarens and Mercedes. I think the McLaren was a better bet than the Mercedes in the end. They're all shuffling around to try and avoid champagne here, but we've now got second where we should have third, and third where we should have second. But there are some trophies to some people. Darren Lung and Dan Harper have moved from one end to the other, but they'll get some sort of silverware. And what we do have, as I say, for Sky Tempesta is a good result after a couple of difficult seasons, but also a difficult British GT outing at Silverstone, where the car was damaged really before the weekend got underway and they had to withdraw from the event. So this is a real boost, and perhaps underlines that going back to Ferrari has been a good move. It was from the Ferrari One Make Series that Chris Froggatt and Eddie Cheever and Jonathan Hui all got to know each other. And a great result, as now Dan Harper illustrates how good he is with a bottle of champagne. Well, it has been a very interesting day at Misano. 2 good races for our Sprint Cup, and the next stop for Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe is going to be the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa at the end of June. We'll see you there. Bye for now.
Max altitude reached.